Hey y'all, Beth from Ozark, Prepsteaders here. All right, I got two things I want to talk to you about today, and I'm going to try and keep it brief. I'm going to try. I really am. All right, so here's my two things. One, I want to address this issue that I've heard a couple of times now, the issue of hopium, okay, where we are in our country and hopium. And the other thing I want to talk about is where we are with the national housing market and what my thoughts and opinions are on that. Okay, I'm going to start with that. So I've expressed before that I am plugged in with realtors all over the US. I am in a couple of very large realtor only and realtor lender only groups on Facebook. Some of these have like 40,000 members. They are folks from all over the United States. And what we are seeing in this housing market is a crisis. And I personally thoroughly believe this is a manufactured crisis. By the way, any crunching you hear, that is Duke working on his delicious pig ear over here. Sorry about that. So we are seeing buyers. It is like some kind of sick Hunger Games for buyers right now. I mean, it is rough. And it's rough here too, but not nearly as bad as it is in some parts of the country. I have some realtor friends that work in Texas. They're down like in the San Antonio market. Some buyers there are waiving all contingencies and paying 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 over list price to try and win a home. This is happening all over the country. Here, we're not seeing as many bidding wars yet, but we are seeing prices continue to rise at an astronomical rate. And on the right properties, we are for sure seeing a little bit of bidding wars. It's a little bit crazy how it's all playing out right now. Okay, why do I say this is a manufactured crisis? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, whenever you start looking at the amount of buyers who are coming in with enough cash and strong enough credit to get financed, that they're able to waive contingencies. And what that means is they're saying, I'm going to waive a home inspection. I don't care what condition the home is in. I'm going to waive appraisal. If it comes in, if I offer $250,000 and the appraisal comes back at $300,000, I'm going to pay the $50,000 difference. It is insanity, some of the things that we're seeing. How is it that there's suddenly all these Americans a year after a global pandemic that have enough money to be able to do that, right? So the answer is there aren't. The answer is you are competing with foreign nationals coming in, buying up our country, and corporations coming in, buying up real estate like crazy. And it's not just houses. They're buying up our farmland and our forests and our natural resources at an unbelievable astronomical rate. So what does that mean? That means that Americans who have lived here, worked here, and paid taxes their entire lives, in many cases can't afford to buy a home. Or because of the huge shortage, there aren't enough homes for them to buy. So then you look at all the people who say, well, I'm going to buy a piece of land and I'm going to build, which a couple of years ago I think was a great option. But we have seen lumber prices go up 250% in the last 6 months. I just read an article on it. 260%. So an average size deck a year and a half ago was $900. Now it's almost $4,000 to build a deck. So you can imagine what that does to folks who are trying to build, right? If you are a corporation that's looking to invest, you have the money. If you are a wealthy person, you have the money. But for the middle class and the lower class in our country, it's not going to happen, right? So why would it be that our government is not only standing by and allowing foreign nationals to buy up our country like crazy, and allowing corporations to buy up single family houses like crazy, but you also, what I believe is encourage building supplies to go up like crazy. Couldn't have anything to do with the fact that part of the global agenda, global reset, is to get us all out of rural areas, all into cities, into high rises, just like they do in China, and, make sure that all Americans are provided housing by the government, the type of housing the government wants us to live in, as opposed to being free to buy wherever you want, live wherever you want, build wherever you want. I believe the answer to that is yes. I believe this is absolutely an intentional manufactured crisis. And I believe the way to deal with it is to write and call your legislators, your state legislators, and your, federal representatives. Call and write them every single day and tell your state folks, stop allowing corporations and globalists to come in and buy up our land. And tell the feds the same thing. You need to put laws in place. It is not right that a big corporation can come in and buy up an entire city block, keep Americans from being able to purchase those homes, and then rent them back at astronomical rents. Rents have gone up. It is ridiculous. So most folks, especially in cities right now, are paying way more in rent than what it would cost to buy the same house, even at some of these inflated prices, but there aren't any to buy because we have this huge housing shortage. The other thing is they need to open up building. They need to let folks build. They need to drop the regulations. Some of these areas, the regulations, the taxes, the fees for building are astronomical. By the time you have paid all of the taxes, all of the fees, all of the licensing, all of the permits, all of that on a house that should cost to build $200,000, you spent $50,000 or $60,000 just on the permits and all the crap that the government makes you pay. California is one of the biggest offenders of that. I find it so interesting that California has so many homeless people that are crapping and, using the streets for the bathroom, throwing used hypodermic needles on the ground. Trash is everywhere. If you've seen some of these photos out of California, these tent cities and stuff, it is revolting. But they're going to put all of these environmental protections in place for builders and make it so cost ineffective to build something there. It is ridiculous. Again, a liberal run state for eons in liberal run cities, making it, the hardest, the worst on the poor and the middle class. That's how they roll, right? So I wanted to bring that up. And I think it's really important. I am sick of people getting on the internet and whining, myself included. I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. I don't want to hear it. If you can get on the internet and whine and complain, you can use that same time to write your legislators. And trust me, the thing these people fear more than anything is losing re-election. They have the cushiest, easiest jobs in the world, these legislators. And they fear losing re-election more than anything. And if enough people start writing and calling and continue to write and call, things will start to change. I've seen it happen. Here's the other thing that a lot of folks don't realize. Whenever you are contacting your legislators, they are only interested in hearing from people from their state. Do you know why that is? Because you're the only ones that can get them reelected. So if you live in, let's say, Oklahoma, and you're pissed off at what's going on in California, and you write and call over there, they always require you to give an address. They're not even going to pay attention to what you have to say. So hyper focus, right? This is how we're going to win back the country. We are going to hyper focus. We're going to start at the local level and we're going to make as many changes for conservatism and the Constitution as we possibly can. Then we're going to expand to, our little bit broader areas, then to state, then to federal. That's how we, as citizens, grassroots citizens, are going to help win back this country. We can't just sit around and hope we get another Trump, right? That's not going to work out. We have to get involved. Freedom is worth fighting for. And before we all start shooting at each other, let's do our part to, do things as non-violently as possible. I'm not saying it's, might not come to, Revolutionary War number 2. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, let's try all the non-violent stuff first. All right, so that's it on that. So here is the second part, which kind of leads into that. At the same time that we do need to do our part, we cannot lose hope. It is super important that we do not get discouraged and that we do not lose hope. So I'm going to share a passage of scripture with y'all, and I'm going to talk about it real briefly, and then I'm going to get out of here because I have a ton of stuff on my to-do list today, as I'm sure y'all do too. I really appreciate y'all being here. It still just blows my mind that folks are not only interested in what I have to say, but so many of you take the time to, chat and text and email and leave comments letting me know that you feel the same way. I really enjoy that. So thank y'all for that. All right, I gotta take a sip of coffee here because I'm already a little parched. All right, so today's scripture comes from the book of Mark. And we are in Mark 5, and I'm going to read from you 24 through 34. It's a little bit long, but it's super important. All right. So leading up to this, we're talking about Jesus. He's just crossed over to the other side, and Jairus comes up to him and says, I've got a little girl. She's super sick. I need you to come help me. Okay. And Jesus went with him, that's Jairus. And a great crowd kept following him and pressed him from all sides so as to almost suffocate him. And there was a woman who had had a flow of blood for 12 years and who had endured much suffering under the hands of many physicians and had spent all that she had and was no better, but instead actually grew worse. She had heard the reports concerning Jesus, and she came up behind him in the throng and touched his garment. For she kept saying, if I only touch his garments, I shall be restored to health. And immediately her flow of blood was dried up at the source, and suddenly she felt in her body that she was healed of her distressing ailment. And Jesus, recognizing in himself that the power proceeding from him had gone forth, turned around immediately in the crowd and said, who touched my clothes? And the disciples kept saying to him, you see the crowd pressing all around you from all sides, and you ask, who touched me? Still, he kept looking around to see her and who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had been done for her, though alarmed and frightened and trembling, fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith, your trust and confidence in me, springing from your faith in God, has restored you to health. Go into peace and be continually healed and freed from your distressing bodily disease. I am reading out of the Amplified Bible. So if it sounds a little bit different to you, that's why. If you don't know what that is, hit me up and I will explain it to you. So you got to picture this. Picture the biggest crowd you've ever been in and ever seen in your life. I've been in some big crowds. There are so many people. They are pressing so hard up against Jesus on all sides that he's having trouble even breathing. That's how crushing the crowd is on him. She's in this crowd. She's heard that Jesus has healed people, right? Remember the leper? Remember the demons? She's heard this. She knows that he's a healer. For 12 years, this woman has suffered. 12 years. She has seen every doctor. I'm sure she's tried every old wives' tale cure. I'm sure she's listened to all of her girlfriends. I'm sure she's tried everything. They said she spent almost all of her money. Now she's broke. She's still sick. She's even more sick. She's bleeding continuously. And now she's got no money. And she hears that Jesus is coming. And she's heard so many things about the miracles that she thinks to herself, if I could just touch his garments. She's willing to go into a crowd that is so oppressive you can hardly breathe in it. This is a woman who has an issue of blood, okay? We think that it is like a reproductive issue. So I want you to keep in mind that back then, women did not have the type of technology that we have now for dealing with things like that. She's bleeding and she leaves her home and goes into this oppressive crowd just to get close enough to him to try and touch his garments. And she makes it, and she's rewarded. We cannot give up hope. I don't like that word hopium. I don't like it. It is not a fake drug. It is what we are called to do as Christians, is to remain hopeful, to keep the faith, to believe in God. Now, if you are believing in something other than God, if you are holding your faith in something other than God, then that's a problem. But if your faith and your belief is that God will either step in and fix things or protect you and your family and keep you and your family safe, or direct you and your family, tell you what to do, tell you how to live, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Don't let people steal that from you. Don't let people tell you, you don't have a right to be hopeful, or you're foolish for being hopeful. I don't like that word hopium. I don't like it because it makes it sound like we're fooling ourselves. We are called, because I've heard Christians use that word, and that's what really aggravates me. We are called to remain hopeful. We are called to walk in faith, okay? So don't let them get you down. Things are changing every day. I see God working in many miraculous ways. He's definitely working in our lives. I see him working in other people's lives, and I do see him working on the global level. We have seen some amazing arrests. We have seen a lot of sex abusers, pedophiles locked up. We have seen some big name government officials step down across the world and even here in America. We're seeing a lot of traction, a lot of things moving if you just pay attention. But the thing that gives me the most hope is the amount of people globally who are standing up and saying, we're not going to take it anymore. If we just keep fighting and keep our faith and focus in God, there is no reason not to be hopeful. So y'all stick with it. I'm going to stick with it. And I thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you on the next one.